Good morning. It is 11:37 on Wednesday, September 15th, and we are calling to order our first meeting for the 2021-22 school year of our District Crisis Management Team. For the first time, this meeting is being recorded as we are now a district with more than 10,000 students. So, yeah. We were required in 2019 to begin complying with the Open Meetings Act and post notice of our meeting. So we're having a public meeting here in the boardroom, the Board of Trustees boardroom. We have several administrators of WISD here. We've got two of our elected trustees with us, a lot of our security-minded folks, and a special guest, Lieutenant Mike Lewis, in place of Chief Wade Goolsby. Very happy to have him here today. So I know that our minutes from our most recent meeting, June 16th, 2021, have been distributed. I hope you've had an opportunity to look at those. And once you've had the opportunity to look at those, please, I'll entertain a motion to approve those. I have a motion from Mr. Gomez. Do I have a second? Second from Ms. Authier. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Well, our minutes are unanimously approved. And now moving on to our discussion items. And just for those who may see this recording, we have a few items that we can discuss during the public portion of our meeting. And we have some important information to share and discuss in closed session. And we have our closed session so that we can discuss specific matters related to safety and security on campuses that might reveal information related to students or that might make our campuses potentially even more vulnerable. And so we will discuss those matters related to specific implementation of security and security devices on campuses in our closed session. But for our open session discussion, we have a celebration. And so we have a general topic of our continued development of our SRO program and our security program under the leadership of Lieutenant Josh Oliver. But we have a specific instance that we want to celebrate that occurred on our Welcome Back to School night at Wildman Elementary with our parents present to come to school and bring backpacks on that first day. And so Lieutenant Oliver and Melissa Bousquet, I know, have a couple of people they want to specifically recognize.
When two parents came into the gym with their children, the family came in pushing a stroller with a toddler who was sucking on a Tootsie Roll Pop. And as the family sat in the stands, the mother realized that the one-year-old was choking on pieces of the sucker. Even though she pulled pieces of the sucker out of the child's mouth, the child could not breathe. The pieces of sucker had lodged in his throat. When Reagan heard the commotion taking place from the side of the gymnasium, she could be seen running over to the family and taking the child in her hands. She turned the child upside down and began firmly patting the child's back to dislodge the pieces of candy in the child's airway. She also used the modified Heimlich maneuver on the child. As the child began to lose his color, the school nurse, Miss Gary, came over and helped Reagan in her efforts to save the child. And together they continued patting the child on the back as the ambulance was called to the scene. As they worked, miraculously, this child began crying. Reagan told me later when she heard the cries of the child, she knew that the baby could breathe again. The last update we received was that the child made a full recovery and was doing fine. But for their outstanding performance while in performance of their duties, and due to their contribution to a successful outcome in a difficult situation with a high professional degree of accomplishment, Security Officer Reagan Resendez is awarded a commendation from the Security Department for her efforts that evening.
Melissa, did you have any words to add?
I just want to say I'm so proud of all of our nursing staff, especially when something like that happens, and our nurses are there to assist and do exactly what they're supposed to do. And it's not always easy, and they both did it. So congratulations. Thank you.
Officer Resendez and Nurse Gary, thank you very much. Truly exemplifying everything we would hope our staff would be able to do. You just did a fantastic job, and thank you. Lieutenant Oliver, is there anything else you'd like to add just regarding your current staffing, maybe response to some absences and ability to fill positions?
We are, at this time, we're working through there's still 2 security officer positions that we're working on getting filled. And then we've got interviews set up this week for those 2 positions. And then also some security or crossing guards working through the final processes of the hiring process. One thing that's been difficult is because of the COVID situation, our fingerprint returns. We usually use a company here in Waxahachie. We hadn't been able to do it because they've been shut down from COVID. So our district, along with every other district in the Metroplex, has gone to the same fingerprinting place. So there's been a bit of a delay on that, but we're excited about the interviews that we have this week, and there's a couple of really good potential candidates there.
Excellent. And I didn't make specific mention of him because he's part of the fabric of our security team, but we have Belvis Nolan with us. He's our lead security officer, and this may be the first time in that official capacity here at this meeting. So very thankful to have you. And is there anything you want to add on just things you're seeing?
No, actually, Lieutenant Oliver is correct. We are trying to get some people in for interview this week. Still waiting on a couple of call back, but outside of that, that fingerprint thing has kind of been a delay in the process of getting all our crossing guard positions fully filled. But I think we will probably have that done by the end of this week, if not early next week. So,
Officer Nolan, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions?
I know one of the things that's kind of on everybody's mind, especially this week, is the vandalism issues we had Monday at WHS. I'll talk vaguely about that because we're still in the midst of the investigation and everything. But last I heard, we had 6 students that were subjects of interest in the case. Had quite a bit of damage done to the school. I think Mr. Gomez might be able to give us, a ballpark dollar amount, but last I heard, it was several thousands of dollars.
I'm sorry.
No, I said, right when I said your name, I noticed I caught you mid-bite.
But we are making progress. One of our vendors actually gave us the product to install at no charge. Since they are very good with doing very good business with the district, they just decided to go ahead and do that for us. We still have labor charges because we have to go back and install them. What's going to be a high ticket item is going to be the 3 doors that they displaced, because we want to make sure, since they're brand spanking new, we want to make sure that they're aligned correctly and they're installed back. So I haven't gotten a firm figure on that, but when I get it, I'll send it out so it's there out there.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. And we'll have an opportunity to, even in closed session, discuss specific security responses as necessary, but very much appreciate your effort, Ms. Harris's effort. So campus and district leadership and safety and security to make the best plan there as possible, and also get our bathrooms reopened for students as soon as possible, as safely as possible, and truly take every measure to have the cost of damages and repairs placed on the responsible parties, and have appropriate action taken towards the responsible parties. That's the only appropriate action we can take. So I'm really thankful for y'all.
I think something to point out with that, this was a social media trend that was being done on TikTok that some of our kids jumped on. It happened really quickly. They started pulling off soap dispensers, paper towel dispensers from the wall, sticking it in their backpacks. And after talking to Ms. Harris yesterday, our school district was not alone in this. There were several school districts in the county and in the area that were also hit with this type of vandalism. But that doesn't negate the fact that a crime was committed, and we're looking into criminal prosecution and then also school discipline for all these students.
Thank
LT
you.
also, I don't know if you've been aware, but just this morning, we also added 3 more suspects to the list. We actually found and saw the animals out at the complex, the sporting complex. We found those guys who actually removed those doors off the hinges out there. So we can add 3 more to the 6 you were talking about
Okay.
this morning.
Total of 9.
Yeah, total of 9 right now. There was other people out there. We're not sure what role they played, but they're in the process of being interviewed.
All right. Well,
And to add to that, there are additional, these are TikTok challenges and they're
Yeah.
nationwide. I saw a restroom in San Antonio that was absolutely, a hospital that was absolutely destroyed. It was sad. But each day there's a new challenge. Today's challenge was steal the overhead projector from your teacher and slap a teacher in the face. Or punch a teacher in the face.
Punch,
That was the TikTok challenge. And each day, they're coming out with a different challenge that they're challenging high school students to do. That would be very unfortunate for any of our students.
I just got a phone, I've been calling area principals, and I just got the phone with Mansfield Heritage, and they mentioned a hot chip challenge. They're eating something that's really hot. They did that back in the early 2000s when I was in big. It's making some of the kids sick because it's getting taken or something. I've talked to Palmer, Ennis, Red Oak, Midlow, and Red Oak had the most significant, they had a fire extinguisher put out, and then go back there and two sub-dispensers for top of the walls, but areas reported very little incident, so it is going around. They're picking up the challenge.
All right. But as far as getting staff to respond, I mean, you had a good response, and then filling positions, still working this week to try to become fully staffed.
We do, as far as filling the 2 security officer openings that we have a couple of really good candidates that we're looking at right now. Hopefully get them interviewed and through the hiring process this week.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next item on our public agenda is an update regarding the Duress active shooter, our crisis communication app. I know it's in full use on every campus. I know there's a effort to, in addition to permanent staff being able to access it, have accessibility for substitutes. Just if you can give us an update.
We, all of our principals were really great this year about having us come in and do a presentation on this is Duress, this is how it works, going through the standard response protocol again. So I really want to thank them for taking the time, for allowing us to do that. Also, when we are putting substitutes through their new hire orientation, we're going through the app with them and the standard response protocol. And so it's been really beneficial to be able to get in front of them and kind of tell them what to expect in all those situations. As far as the technical side of things, that is the difficulty right now, is trying to figure out, do we let them use their personal email addresses? Because substitutes don't have school email addresses. How do we want to go about doing that in the future to give them access to that Duress app? So that's something we're working through right now.
Is there anything anyone wants to add on the Duress communication app?
Yeah, I think, Ms. Harris, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're having problems with it at the high school because the signal is just horrible there for cell phones. So we're not able, people are not getting the signal and the messages. I know my phone is terrible when I'm up there. There's no signal, so we're not getting the signal when there's an actual, alert. So
Okay.
I don't know if we need to get the technology and how they can make it more feasible for everyone up at the high school, that principals and APs and us who has that app on our phone to be able to get those messages, because right now when we're there, 9 times out of 10, 75% of the day on there, and then myself and Ms. Harris, when they're there all day, I don't think they're getting a lot of those messages.
So when we go in and we talk to teachers, one of the things we've been telling teachers, especially this year after BAT started looking into it, is that you always want to have a backup plan, a contingency plan. And there's several of our campuses. Our high school is notorious that you will not get cell phone signals in there.
Is that true? Wi-Fi, LTE, doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter, it's bad, and it depends on where you are in the building as to whether or not your phone will work. People that are down in the gym areas, they get no reception. If they're a theater, they get no reception. Band hall, they don't have reception in the band hall. And then a couple of the other classrooms, CTE, that main hallway in CTE, they're not getting any reception in there. And then a couple of the English, like towards the middle of the hallway, they're not getting it. And so it's problematic if we need this app to work. Now, they can put it on their actual desktop or their laptop, but a lot of teachers may not necessarily be behind their desk, and they may have their phone in their pocket or what have you.
Okay.
So that's just an issue that we need to try to see if we can rectify.
Ours is this, it happens sometimes at our campus too, and so we use, we still use our intercom, we use the other, what we've always done, and this is in addition to.
Right.
But I know, like, whenever I talked to Mr. Daniel, they were doing the Wi-Fi upgrades at the campuses, but the chip shortage has delayed that. So, we were working on our campus, I think that once that's taken care of, that'll help too.
Okay.
But I don't know.
We always do contingency plans, backup. So I tell all the teachers, don't be totally relying on your desktop computer, because it is. They should all have that on their desktop computers. And so in a situation like the high school where those are hardwired into the network, you should have better chances of getting the alert through that. And then also the contingency plan is the phones. Once you get outside the building, if it's an evacuation type situation, hopefully your phones will be able to work.
And we have the phone thing now too, where they set it up to where it calls, like if there's an emergency call from our campus, from the desktop phones, and it alerts out our office, it goes on our office phones. That was a new thing they just added.
Yeah.
Josh?
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. So if they're teaching, does it beep or something from their desktop so they'll know?
So long as the app is on. And so I have, like on my computer, I have the app open.
Right.
Now it's not on my screen, but it's on. And then on my phone, it's an app that's open. If it's on your phone and on your computer, it takes over when there's an alert. It pops up and it's loud, so long as you have volume up.
So it makes a noise so they'll know.
It has a distinct alert, and one of the things we've noticed when we set it off in the schools is even if a particular teacher has hers muted, usually they're able to hear it all down the hallway.
Because if just one computer's got it on, it's a loud sound. Now a lot of folks are putting their volume down because they do it.
Right.
On a campus, I don't think it's going to be as often or as recurrent. Here in this building, the district administrators are on for every campus, and so because even if it's a drill, it comes on. Now there's a blue flag that tells you drill versus the red flag that tells you it's a real alert. But if I just left my volume on all the time, every day, when it goes, it goes loud.
That's what I didn't know.
Yes, ma'am.
If it went off loudly because
Yes,
if you're
ma'am.
up teaching, they can
Right.
hear it. That was my question.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you, Mrs. Kriegel. Any other questions on the Duress app? All right. Well, thank you for noting the technology issues at the high school. For a myriad of reasons, we need to look into whatever we can do to boost Wi-Fi or LTE signal. And safety and security is no better. I mean, it's typically the best reason. Certainly not less important than any other reason to do that. Our next item for public discussion is the update to our multi-hazard operations plan. And each district is required to do this under 37.108 and 109 of the Education Code. The state brought all of the plans under the leadership of the Texas School Safety Center a couple of years ago. And the Texas School Safety Center started auditing those plans. We're fortunate that our plan met its muster. Other districts have not been as fortunate, and so they are still tweaking their plan. That said, just because you have a good plan doesn't mean you let it just grow dust on the shelf. You've got to look at it periodically. And the only changes we've proposed for this year are essentially by necessity of changed positions. For instance, when you change superintendents as a district, that's a huge systemic change. And so Dr. Bonnie Kane is no longer referenced in our crisis management plan as updated now under the leadership of Dr. Jerry Hollingsworth. Not a whole lot of substantive changes, but Lieutenant Oliver has a steady hand on our plan. So as we see that we need things, we can make additions. But just wanted to bring that to your attention. We will make sure that for like new principals, new leadership, that we distribute full sets of the plan for our existing principals, such as Ms. Authier, Ms. Harris, that we get current plans and like I said, nothing substantive this year other than changing personnel. But we have this for discussion, so if there's anything that you want to say today or otherwise be thinking about our operations plan or updates for our operations plan, please know that is a core function of this committee to make updates. Anything you want to add?
Well, I just want to thank emergency management too. Those guys with the city have been great about working with us on those plans. And I know that's one of the things going forward is we're going to be working with those guys. That way they can just double check us when we can have a different set of eyes on those things. Because, it was surprising to me when I first got in this position and they were asking me where to put people during a tornado drill. I'm the last person to tell you where to go during a tornado drill. So I'm thankful for the emergency management guys from the city that help us out with decisions like that. And we'll continue doing those.
Any questions on that topic? And then our final item for our public session is WISD's response to COVID, update regarding current conditions. And I've got Melissa Bousquet here, and we, keep looking at our protocol, keep adjusting based on mandates or strong recommendations or suggestions from TEA and the CDC. Right now, the highest percentage at any one campus of staff and student population as of yesterday was, I believe, 2.51% at Coleman Junior High. The day before that, it was Findlay Junior High, and those numbers fluctuate. Fortunately, over the last 2 weeks, the fluctuation has been a downward trend. It just anecdotally looks like we peaked getting up to Labor Day, have kind of plateaued, and we're hoping it's a real trend. We are cautiously optimistic, but in regard to response, it's our intent to be following sanitization standards and cleanliness standards, hand washing standards that we adopted before last school year, the 2021 school year. So we're still, cleaning rooms the same quality. We're still making hand sanitizer available, encouraging washing hands. That's just in general across the board, whether a campus is green or any other color. And then at the other colors of alarm, once we get above 4% on any campus, we have heightened controls, but still operating under mask optional, vaccine optional. But Melissa, do you want to add any update or information regarding what we're doing?
I would echo your encouragement about the numbers trending downward. They're still looking good. Today, we're not quite there yet to know exactly what they are, but they are looking good. We haven't had to make any changes to make things more severe as far as protocol regulations go. So in the last couple of weeks, so that's good news. We're going the right direction.
I know Melissa recently audited our supplies within the clinics on the campuses to see how they're doing on PPE, how they're doing on sanitizer, and a little uneven. Every campus, every clinic had some. Some have a lot. So working on distributing some of those resources. Now, where PTOs of a particular campus have donated, we're not arresting from a campus that has received a donation that was meant for that particular campus. Fortunately, we don't have to. Also, the state has resources available for the PPE, and Melissa has put out to receive some of those resources. But also for the rapid tests. TEA issued a requirement approximately 3 weeks ago that for anyone, whether they're vaccinated or not, if they meet the close contact threshold, must undergo rapid tests during the period of 10 days that would follow that close contact. The original requirement was every other day. That's been changed to periodically. We're still recommending every other day. That's still the standard we're utilizing, knowing that we have a little grace if for whatever reason we ran out of resources. We've been thin on resources, but even as of today, there are still some testing supplies in Melissa Bousquet's office, and
1,000 today.
and then we just got 1,000 of those tests today. So we put out with a vendor to purchase. So we've acquired with district resources tests. The state, with a grant from the federal government, has now acquired a substantial amount of those tests, and tests have been allotted for WISD. So we should have ample resources going forward of those rapid tests. In regard to vaccines, we are providing information to our staff, have provided information to our staff regarding all of the resources in our community for vaccines. It is still true here at Baylor Waxahachie, within the Baylor hospital system, that the vast majority of those needing hospitalized care, respirator care, are folks that are unvaccinated. And so we do, want all of our employees who are, unvaccinated, still willing to consider being vaccinated, want them to know all of the resources they have available to them to become vaccinated. Our seasonal flu vaccines that we make available to staff every year will soon be available again on campuses. HEB, who does those flu vaccines, does not have the capacity to do COVID vaccines, but Melissa has reached out to Walgreens in an effort to maybe do, in addition to our HEB flu and seasonal vaccines, the COVID vaccines on campuses. If we're successful there, we'll make sure we have those available. As soon as information regarding boosters becomes available, we will get that to staff. Right now, the threshold is still age 12 and up. 11 and under can't be vaccinated. There's news every day that one of the providers, Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, may get a green light to roll out vaccines for kids. When that occurs, we'll, to the fullest extent we can, make sure that information is passed on to our families. Any other items to add?
No, I'm still waiting to hear back from Walgreens, but I would be excited about that, having clinic on campus for staff that they would like. That's great.
In regard to the tragedy, once you encounter COVID and need additional medical care, we do know that in Ferris, all county residents are able now to go to a clinic and get additional immunotherapy. Regeneron, I believe, is the name of that. Yeah, so they've got an open clinic for all county residents. It was City of Ferris and Ellis County helped get together to make that available for all county residents in the event you are truly in need of responsive care with an active case of COVID. Anything else to add?
Do we have anything from the city to add about that?
So the monoclonal antibody treatment will be at the Scout House in Ferris. So That's operational this Friday at Waxahachie Senior Center, and we'll be opening up a testing option. So, you know, parents are calling or anything like that, issues within the school, so they can go there to receive it, as well as other places within the city. My only question is the testing that you're doing, are y'all tracking that through Texas Rapid Test? Are y'all reporting that to the state?
Per TEA, we are following guidelines to make sure every reported test positive case, that may just be a rapid test. Hospitals and clinics, many of them aren't accepting patients that have a confirmed test. I took this test, I'm confirmed. Okay, well, as long as your symptoms are mild, please stay home, get rest, drink water, and only come back if you then are experiencing trouble breathing or other things. And so there are instances where we're more or less taking the word of a parent that their child, or the word of an employee that they have rapid tests. There's sometimes not a way to confirm, but yes, for every COVID confirmed case, we're making our reports. We're doing a public dashboard every day for all of our cases on campuses, and then we're doing the weekly report. Is that Monday? Every Monday? So every Monday that's going to the health department and state.
Good, thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Any other questions or anything to add? Well, that's going to close our public topics of discussion. We will reconvene back in open session, but at this time, pursuant to our agenda, at 12:10, we will be going into closed session pursuant to section 551.076 of the Government Code to discuss the deployment and specific occasions for implementation of security personnel and devices in general and specifically related to the items that are here on our agenda. It is 12:10 and we will be retiring to closed session. It is now 1:09 p.m. and we are reconvened back into open session. I don't believe we have any items to discuss or deliberate in open session that were discussed in closed session. I believe we have taken care of all of our action items. Does anybody else have anything to add from our agenda? We're certainly thankful that our new superintendent, Dr. Jerry Hollingsworth, joined us, and I look forward to his participation and all of your continued participation on our crisis management team. Our next meeting will be in November, and we will be getting information to you well in advance of that meeting. Lieutenant Lewis, thank you very much for your participation in our meeting today. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion from Mrs. Kriegel, second from Mrs. Authier. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, at 1:10, we are adjourned.